It's called Christmas Haircuts. Written by Mona Malone and read by Francis Nguyen.
Oh, it is hard to see up here. Okay. Christmas Haircuts by Mona Malone. When I met Dennis that summer, he was wearing a helmet in a bar. My drunk friend was using inanimate objects for support while trying to stay on his feet, and in the process, grabbed onto Dennis. I was previously uninterested in babysitting his drunk ass, but now that he had chosen to lean on a good-looking man, I selflessly decided to be a good friend and intervene. I rushed over to collect my drunk friend and apologized profusely. Having done my friendly duty, I lingered and struck up a conversation with this beautiful stranger in a helmet, while my drunk friend wandered off, leaned too hard on a non-load-bearing fence, fell through it, and was asked to leave. Dennis and I hung out a lot over the next month. He lived in a house with two other guys, one of whom was Ben. None of my other friends thought Ben was good-looking, but I was inexplicably attracted to him, which was a problem because he was always around and I was supposed to be dating his roommate. He always seemed to be just coming home from a shirtless jog, sweaty and glistening. And on more than one occasion, I walked into the living room to find him playing a banjo in his underwear. I was so smitten that I sneakily took pictures of him doing all of these things. If I had met him at the same time, I probably would have gone for Ben. But there I was, dating Dennis. And Dennis was sweeter to me than anyone I had ever been with. But something just didn't click. Honestly, it was the way he smelled. Not BO or bad breath or dirty laundry, just his pheromones, plain and simple. I was actively turned off by his natural musk, and that's just science. Dennis and his roommates had a huge group of close friends who were constantly throwing themed parties. They all loved playing bartender, so these parties involved me drinking half a dozen cocktails made from half a dozen liquors and feeling like shit the next day. For one of these parties, Dennis and I got a piñata and filled it with unconventional items we found at Walmart while we were drunk. There was candy, of course, but there was also toothbrushes, bananas, little bottles of wine, loose pills, which were actually laxatives that we hoped people would just trustingly take, and little boys' underwear. I woke up the next day in Dennis's bed, where I had never been before. My clothes from the night before were still on, as were my high-heel sandals. There had been some sort of accident. There was blood on his sheets, and I was missing a big toenail. I had blacked out and was too embarrassed to ask what happened to my toenail. It remains a mystery to this day. I creeped out of his bedroom, walked downstairs into a living room shitstorm of little boys' underwear covered in banana goop and loose pills on the floor. And then I just left, and we didn't talk for a couple weeks. There wasn't any particular reason. I was just looking for an out. A few weeks later, he sent me a Hail Mary text message, effusively listing all of my wonderful traits and begging me to give him another chance. Men, grand gestures like this always work, even when they shouldn't. We planned a date for later that week, but on the day we were supposed to go out, he texted and apologized for having to cancel. But he had just informed by his employer that there were warrants out for his arrest, and he needed to turn himself in and pay some past due fines. He assured me that they were just failures to appear in court for traffic violations, but who really knows? We never rescheduled, and another 2 months went by without seeing or thinking of him. In December, he texted to invite me to an ugly sweater Christmas party that he was throwing. For a still unknown reason, I agreed to go. Never mind the facts that his pheromones were appalling to me. We hadn't seen each other in almost 3 months, and the last time we were supposed to hang out, he instead self-surrendered for outstanding warrants. I went alone to this ugly sweater party because I thought I was Dennis's date. I thought that's why he had invited me. The last time I had seen him or any of these friends, it was as a girl he was dating. I should have been tipped off as I walked through the front room when people looked shocked that I was there, and even good-naturedly asked me, "What are you doing here?" Blissfully unaware, I cheerfully replied, "Dennis invited me." I walked into the living room and spotted him dancing with and kissing another girl. Outwardly, I was the epitome of Christmas cheer. Red nutcracker sweater, huge red hair bow, bright red lipstick. Inwardly, I was mortified. But more importantly, I was pissed. And that's a dangerous combination. My entire body got hot with embarrassment and rage, and part of me wanted to turn around, walk straight out the door, and drive home. But the larger part of me, the proud, vindictive, bitchy part of me, wanted to win. I don't know why he invited me here if I wasn't his date. I wasn't interested in being his girlfriend on account of the whole pheromones, and now this shit? But I still had to win. And in my mind, I would be winning if I acted totally unfazed by this revelation, mingled with everyone else at the party, ignored Dennis completely, and was otherwise such a delightful and charming party guest that everyone there would say to Dennis after, "God, Dennis, what are you doing with this new girl? She sucks. We all like Mona so much better." That was the plan, at least. I was trying to strike up a conversation with someone in the kitchen when Ben walked in. Sweet, banjo-playing, shirtless Ben. "You beautiful man." He also seemed surprised to see me and astutely noted that I probably needed a drink about then. He asked if I wanted a haircut. A haircut is when you lay back with your head over the kitchen sink, like you do when someone is washing your hair during a haircut. Open your mouth, and then two people stand over you, one holding liquor and the other holding a chaser, and they quasi-waterboard you with this mixed drink until you say "uncle," by which time you have taken 2 or 3 shots of liquor. They did not go easy on me for my first haircut. I had 2 or 3 of them. After my haircuts, Ben and I were talking in the kitchen, still in sight of Dennis and his new lady friend. Ben told me that both of his roommates now had girlfriends, and jokingly lamented the fact that he was all alone. Drinking 6 shots of Jack Daniels in 5 minutes had left me feeling pretty flirtatious. And I confessed that I had always had a huge crush on him. Mercifully, I did not also confess to having taken creepy secret pictures of him. "Yeah, I always wanted to fuck you too." Well, it turns out he's kind of a douche, so of course we started making out in the kitchen. Then everything got kind of quiet. We looked up, and Dennis was standing right behind Ben. Terrified, Ben whipped back around to face me, looking at me like I was a monster, and screamed, "Did you know he was standing right there?" I smiled creepily and nodded my head real slowly. At this point, I was neither delightful nor charming. Being drunk had made me oblivious to the fact that no one wanted me at that party anymore. I danced aggressively and enthusiastically alone in the living room for a while, and then left. I drunk drove all the way from the Heights to the Taco Cabana on 59 and Kirby. I went inside to order because they never give you the salsa ranch in the drive-thru, and everyone knows that's what's the best. After I had ordered, I realized I didn't have my wallet. A homeless man in line with me felt bad for me and bought me a burrito. I then drunk drove back to their house in the Heights and waltzed right in the front door. The party was over and their third roommate, the only one I hadn't made out with at this point, was cleaning up. He did not look happy to see me. I found my wallet under the couch where it had fallen out of my purse on account of my aggressive and enthusiastic dancing. Then, just because I hadn't been embarrassed enough for one night, I walked upstairs and opened the door to Ben's room where he was in bed with another girl. I made some indistinguishable noises like, ran downstairs and drunk drove home. Dennis texted me the next day. Well, that was certainly interesting. Author's note. First, this was before Uber. Drunk driving is bad, don't do it. Second, I am not a paid spokesperson for Taco Cabana, but I am very open to such arrangements. 2 years later, he Facebook friended me and asked me out. He had been dating the girl from the ugly sweater party for the last 2 years, but they had just broken up. I don't know why he still wanted anything to do with me, but he made another grand gesture in the form of an elaborate picnic. So against my better judgment, we gave dating another shot, for like the 4th time. It didn't work out for the exact same reason that it didn't work out the first time. I didn't like his smell. Pheromones. That shit is real.